in this class, Prosperity from the Inside Out, I had to talk with my practitioner within the last week. And it's good to work with a practitioner when you're dealing with things and wanting to make changes. So the local one I've known the longest, many of you know, is Glenda Moore. And so one morning in her meditation, she picked up on something was happening with me. And she wrote me and said, I know you're making a lot of changes. What's going on? And we hadn't talked in a week. And then I wrote her back this whole list. Oh yeah, I'm just afraid of this, and this is happening, and I'm seeing this, and it's like, oh, it looks crazy. I just wrote her this list, and I said, I know it's my old stuff coming up and out, but it's right in front of my face. You know, it was right there, and it was like I could either reclaim it, or I could pronounce that it is coming up and out of me. And about 2 days later, I felt so different because it had come up and out of me. We have to be aware of that process. That's just part of change. So what are you inspired to do with your life? Now, May and June, we have used this book, Creative Mind and Success by Ernest Holmes. I believe it's available as a download on the website, or it's available by email if you let us know you want it, because it's in the public domain. So we got it from scienceofmindarchives.org and are making it available. But I like my hard copy because then you can do yellow and all those things on it. I'm going to read this section and then we're going to look at what Ernest Holmes says about what we're talking about, from inspiration to manifestation. So this section is called The Ideas of the Infinite. Suppose that we wish to draw from the universal mind some definite idea, some guidance, some information, some leading. How are we going to do this? First, we must become convinced that we can do it. Where do all the inventions come from? Where does Edison get his information about electricity? Now think about this. This was 1926 when it was published, so he put it that way, like present tense. Where, if not from the direct mind of the universe? Everything that has ever come into the race comes direct from mind. One mind. Okay? It could come from nothing else. Every invention is but a discovery of something that already is, although we may not have seen it. Where does the harmony of music come from? Where could it originate except in mind? Does not a great musician listen and hear something that we do not hear? His ear is attuned to harmony, and he catches it straight from life itself and interprets it to the world. We are surrounded by the music of the spheres, but few of us ever catch the sounds. We are so filled with trouble that the divine melody is never heard. If we could see, if we could hear, if we could understand, if we only realized the presence of the all, what could we not do? When a great thought springs up in the mind of an individual, when a great poem is written, when a great work of art is wrought by some receptive artist, it is simply a sign that the veil is thin between there. He has caught a glimpse of reality. So what is this saying to us? Before I go into the details there, let's remember that we are designed as the literal interface between the infinite potential and the manifest reality. That means we have everything required to take an idea that we're driven to do, especially an inspired idea, and to work it through our thoughts, through our emotions in our body, which are energy in motion, E-motion. Energy in the body, it gets it in there. We start taking action. We are that place. We can get the ideas when we want them. So let's keep that in mind as we look at some of that reading. First, we must become convinced that we can do it. No one is created special on the planet. Everyone is created special on the planet. Bless you. And Edison was not special at what he did. He was just the man that was willing to do over 1,000 attempts to make a light bulb when everybody else gave up at 5 attempts. He heard that it could be done. He knew it could be done. He was willing to persevere, to be persistent. And then, do you know how he got a new idea when he wanted to figure out what gas and what steel filament? He had this method of getting an idea. I often wonder who taught him this, how he figured this out. But what he knew was the answers were within, besides his scientific understanding. And so when he had an idea, or he needed an idea, he had the question. He had a metal pan that would sit on the floor. He had a tall chair he would sit in, and he would hold 2 metal balls. And he'd keep the idea in his mind, and he would close his eyes. He would breathe, he would relax, he would get into a meditative state. And what happens when that does? Hands open, the balls hit the metal pan, and at that moment he would get the idea. And he always knew he would. He had programmed himself to do that. We can program ourselves to do anything. But he had figured out and done that. And that's how he figured out, okay, let's try this new metal or this new gas in the next try at the light bulb. So if he did that, and Tesla did a lot about electricity also, so what is it that you are here to do? Because you have the same resources that lie inside of you. Everyone does. In this philosophy, we believe there is one mind and one heart. And that mind is the mind of God, and that heart is the heart of God. The mind gives us the ideas, the heart gives us the calling and the forward pull. The next part of what Ernest Holmes writes in this book, where do all the inventions come from? I just answered that. Everything that has ever come into the race comes direct from mind. Everything that has ever come in, every invention, every new idea, comes from the creative mind. I know from the science-based stuff that I teach, that the logical mind only knows what has already been done. The logical mind is a database, a storehouse, a library of everything you've ever learned, everything you've ever judged about your learning experiences in life. But the egoic mind, that logical mind, never gets a new idea. All new ideas come from the intuitive mind, and we access the intuitive mind when we meditate. It's a whole different brain mode. So that's why we meditate. We align ourselves to that inspiration, and we ask, what do I do today? In fact, next week, week 5 of Prosperity from the Inside Out, Susan, Lynn, and I are leading the class, and we're going to be taking you through an exercise about that. Every invention is but a discovery of something that already is, although we may not have seen it. What does that mean? It already is, but we may not have seen it. When you take the classes in Science of Mind, we call reality what's inside you. This is all demonstration, all manifestation in the physical world. Reality is inside of us. It's your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs, those inspirations, all that's inside of you is your reality. So if you can imagine it inside, in fact, let me change that wording. When you can imagine it inside at multiple levels of depth, then you're going to know how to create it, how to bring it into your demonstration in life. And we work with this when we're doing goals. We work with it in the reverse. What is the goal you have? Everybody who's in the class has written several goals they desire. But everybody has goals. What's that goal? Go within. How does it feel? What does it look like? What does it smell like? How does it sound? What does it taste like? What is your life going to be like when you have it? Who are you going to be as a person when you have it? You have just begun the manifestation process. The clearer you can get there, it's like in the old days, sorry, I hate to say that, when you went to a movie theater, they had a reel of film, and it was on a reel, and they had a bright light, and that film went through, and the light shone through the film strip, and it projected onto the film screen for us to watch a movie. Nowadays it's all digital, but we are that film strip for our own lives. We create our own film strip. So we set up all the way we want it to look, and the light of God is always shining through us. So as we create that film strip, it will become demonstrated and manifest onto the planet. Does not a great musician listen and hear something that we do not hear? His ear is attuned to harmony, and he catches it straight from life itself and interprets it into the world. We are surrounded by the music of the spheres, but few of us ever catch the sound. How many of you have ever heard, if you're a meditator, you may have heard this, how many of you have ever heard a song and no music was playing physically? A lot of us, okay? That's hearing with the inner ear. The ear behind the ear. The God ear behind the physical human ear. We can hear with that inner ear. We can see with the inner eye that's behind the eye. We can taste with the inner taste behind the taste buds. We have all the God senses within us that are represented as 5 physical senses. So, what does your inspiration sound like? What's its music? What's its rhythm? We are so filled with trouble that the divine melody is never heard. This addresses inner work. This addresses doing our meditation. This addresses, let's become flexible within ourselves. And what I mean is, if we want to become manifesting beings, which we are, but if we want to do that consciously, we want to become flexible in our thoughts, flexible in our beliefs, flexible in our expectations, flexible in our judgments, flexible in our behaviors, flexible in our self-identity of who we are, flexible emotionally. If we have old stuff in the past that we haven't forgiven, old stuff we're holding on to, that decreases our flexibility. If we have something in the past that we haven't addressed and cleared out, then we can't hear the music trying to speak to you, that's playing to you. We have to clear that out. And actually, I was talking to, as an example, I was talking to a good friend of mine last week, and let's just say that he had a couple of years ago, he got scammed into an investor, and it looked like a really good investment. But this guy ended up being a fraud and had defrauded people out of money across the country. And my friend was one of his helpers without knowing all this was going on. And the FBI got onto it. And so my friend got really intense with, okay, the trial's going to happen. I want to see this guy imprisoned and punished and all that kind of stuff. But I could tell it was holding him back. His energy was low. His eyes looked tired. Nothing was happening in his life new, because he was so focused on, this guy's got to pay for what he did. Okay, and I just thought, okay, this is his process. Sometimes you say these things and sometimes you don't. And so the guy was convicted after 3